A pleasant good morning to everyone present here today, and a special welcome to all the fathers, father figures, and I must make mention of the mother who registered as a father for her children. Could she stand, please? Could you give her a hand, please? We here at the Montserrat Public Library are indeed grateful that so many of you took the time out to register to be a part of this outreach activity dubbed Bring Your Dad and Come, aimed at encouraging fathers to be more active and involved in their children's lives, especially in the education aspect. We targeted you, the fathers, especially because the ratio of men against women and their involvement with their children requires a greater effort where the fathers are concerned. We've been bombarded with calls and people are meeting, some staff members on the road asking, what about the mothers? The library is trying to be unique. We're not being biased or anything, but we felt that reaching out to the fathers was needed because, you know, there's this perception that a lot of fathers, when it's Father's Day, the fathers don't receive the honor that they truly deserve. So we felt that reaching out to the fathers was the way to go. I would like at this time to applaud all the fathers who have been involved in your children's lives in a great way. I would also like to charge those same fathers to encourage your peers who are falling by the way, where their children are concerned, to get involved more. Our guest speaker, I am sure, will share with you from his speech entitled, Your Children, Your Legacy, about the importance of being involved. The staff of the Public Library hopes that you will be encouraged and motivated after today's presentation. So, before I welcome back Boss Lady, as I refer to her at times, but who really is the librarian, who will speak to you further on the library's purpose and introduce our guest speaker, I will highlight the items on today's program. And I'm throwing this out now. At the end of the program, we want to have an activity because, as we said, this is an activity and it's all about getting fathers more involved. So we are going to have what we call a musical chair with some fathers and their children. The musical chairs, I guess most of you are familiar with that game. So after today's presentation, we are hoping to do that. So right after I leave the podium, Miss Sonia Smith, the librarian, will come and speak on the library and introduce our guest speaker. Then right after that, we'll have the guest speaker. Then we'll have the presentation of token to the youngest father. Words of encouragement by Mr. John Smith, a frequent patron to the library, and we felt that we would bring him in so that he can encourage your fathers about reading. Then we have a presentation of token for the oldest father. Then we have some more words of encouragement coming from Miss Dr. St. Clair Coward, and he as well has donated books to the library and is a frequent reader, and we approached him and asked him to come and speak with you as well. Then we'll have a special prize presentation. Our main sponsor for the event is Dr. Gary Morton, the owner of Chez Mangoville, and this special prize presentation is a 3-night stay for 2 at his villa. Then we will have distribution of tokens to fathers. That will be done by Mr. Smith, Miss Smith, and Mr. Herdsman. Then we'll have token to presenters by Miss Sarah Sweeney, and she will conclude with the vote of thanks. So, just enjoy what we have put together in your honor as we recognize the importance of your role in your children's lives. Also, let me be the first to wish all present here today a wonderful and well-spent Father's Day tomorrow. Once again, welcome. I will now turn over to Miss Sonia Smith, the librarian, to speak to you. Thank you.
Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, and especially our fathers. A very happy Father's Day is wished to you in advance. The Montserrat Public Library is pleased to present the concept of fathers and reading as a way to bring the family together. According to the American Library Association, and I quote, "Libraries are the place to connect with your children. Public libraries open up new worlds. They spark the imagination. They encourage reading, and they help to develop critical thinking, as well as prepare and support the next generation in school and for life. Most of all, you will be happy to know the materials and programs available at your library are free." End of quote. So, we at the library in Montserrat are doing our part to facilitate this. This is not just a government library. It is your library as well, where we are endeavoring to bring resources and the community together. Therefore, the goal of the public library is not only to promote literacy and reading, which are very important tenets in our foundation, but our goals are also to find ways to promote community engagement, increase our membership, promote the use of technologies in this digital age, as well as assisting with heritage preservation on our island of Montserrat. And just a plug here for the library, if you are not yet a member of the public library, we are encouraging you to sign up today before you leave. A staff member will be on hand to assist you. And remember that library registration and materials are free. We continue to promote programs such as our homework help, prison outreach, and our school reading programs, just to name a few. Our Children's Saturday program will be back online very soon, as we had to suspend activities initially because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Internet Cafe is also available for those who wish to use our computer services. We offer a number of business services such as photocopying, scanning, printing, etc. However, these are not free, and you can find out the cost of these services should you need to make use of them. The public library has faced a number of challenges as an organization since the inception of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we continue to seek to be innovative as we redouble our efforts to plan and execute the activities in order to ensure that the library continues to remain relevant in the 21st century and beyond. So that was a little bit about what we do here at the library, and we're hoping to see much more of you as we continue to promote the efforts of the library. Now on to my second task. It is to introduce the main presenter for today. Mr. Eugene Skerritt has been the president of the Montserrat Civil Service Association, president of the Catholic Pastoral Council, extension officer, acting director of agriculture, and the permanent secretary of several ministries in Montserrat, including youth affairs, community services, and sports. He is also a family life counselor and coach, a motivational speaker, a sports commentator, an agronomist, and a lay minister. He has been a member of the Public Service Commission and currently serves on the Electoral Commission as well. He has been married to the same woman, I have it on good authority, for 38 years and counting, and has raised 3 children and 6 grandchildren. He believes strongly in faith, family, youth empowerment, and education. And personally today, I would like to say that he is a man that I believe has something to say. And when he speaks, I sit and I listen because I know that we will be edified. He has worked with young people and the community for over 40 years. So you would understand when I say that this is a gentleman who has something to say and, more importantly, has remained relevant in every generation. The Public Library is happy to present to you, our fathers, and other specially invited guests, our main presenter for the day, Mr. Eugene Skerritt. Welcome him as he comes to speak to us. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Well, protocols somewhat established, but the folks who are around here are really my children. And if not, they are my students. And if not, they are my godchildren. And if not, grandchildren or grandchild. So what can I say? This is family. This is family. When I got the message from one of my special people, I reflected that in truth and in fact, in 1983, a lady from Canada came to Montserrat and said that they want to start programs in terms of 4-H. They had some 4-H clubs in Nova Scotia, and so she was part of a project that had to go to the Leeward Islands and select somebody from one of the Leeward Islands and would start a program in that country. Well, she came to Montserrat. She went to St. Kitts. She went to Antigua. She went to Nevis. She did all of that. And when she got to Montserrat, she said to me, she just want to go around in the Department of Agriculture to see, well, who would be the person for her to make the choice. Now, guess what? Having gone around all the different parts, she said to me, you know, I found the person. And I said, sure, I'm happy that we could find somebody in Montserrat to go to Nova Scotia. And she said, yes. And I said, so let us go and find the person and let's go. And she said, where are you going? You are the person who will go to Nova Scotia. I'm saying that because Fiona was one of our presidents at St. George's, which is we call Harris's. Where is she? She stepped out. She was the president of the 4-H club in St. George's or Harris's. And so when she called and said, you know, if I want to do something, can I say no? Do you believe I can say no? No, not my president from 1980. Okay? And then, in addition to that, there was a Canada-Montserrat connection. Now, in the old days, the library was not for babies and for children. Namely, it was for adults back then. Little by little, they were growing to have younger persons to be part and parcel of the process. But we as young people, when we went to the library, we didn't even whisper. Not even that, not even to whisper. It was adults in here with them telling us what to do and how to do. Somewhere along the line, the same thing happened that Canada decided to contribute books to Montserrat. Now, I could talk to 1960-something. Those around who may not believe, I could talk to 1960-something. And so Canada contributed those books to a place called Cloverdale. I don't know if anybody's old enough here to hear about Cloverdale, but they sent these books, some were in French, of course, some were in English, and so we became excited because you didn't put anything on any piece of paper, you didn't have any card, you just simply went to Cloverdale, pick up a book, and do what you want to do. Take it home and go and read. And so a number of us started reading like that. And in addition, it expanded now to the library because people started saying, well, wait, the books are interesting, things are happening, and we need to go to the library. And then you had that drive in terms of people going to the library. So you said to yourself, what is it that I'm taking you some journey where we're going there? The journey is important because, again, countries, in terms of your social structure, tends to speak in terms of the ladies, of course, because mommy has the responsibility, as we were told, to look after the children, and the men, of course, had to work at a certain time, and we were doing hard physical work before we move into a different structure. So without that type of work, it meant that when you come home and having had those physical tasks, mommy is taking care, and daddy still says, you can read with the children. Some of us still might even do that, but you'll say, go and write, go and read with the children. But in truth and in fact, some of the men did stand up and say, of course, it's important that we need to read. So how do I turn this and twist this? Because we are talking about legacy. And every time we talk about legacy, we are talking about something going on, forward. What is it going to be left behind? And so now I am, first of all, celebrating the men who are here for your contribution to your children and to other young people who you are helping in terms of nurturing them and allowing them to learn and to read. What did I say? Learn to read. Now, just wondering, what's on your mind? And many times, what is important happening in Montserrat right now is that either it's just wondering or it's what's on our mind. But some of the things that we are saying on our mind is not well informed because we have not read, we have not studied, we have not gotten into the information. So in order to improve, what do we have to do? Read. If our legacy then and our children, because in terms of legacy, most times we are talking in terms of what goes forward, what is going forward. Look at the lovely picture here with daddy, with the youngster on the lap. That is legacy in a different way. But that is heritage. That is continuity. So here it is. How are we going to strengthen that strategy, that legacy, that heritage? And we can only do that if we are supporting the children. Now, most of the times when what's on the mind or what's wondering, it tends to be very negative in regards to males and the men. We are not. Many times is what we have not done. We have not taken out the garbage. We have not fixed the bulbs. We have not closed the closet. We have not put down the seat on the toilet. We have not. We have all kind of things that we have not. But in our strategy and in our legacy, there's much more than those things. So I said to you, how much of celebration do we have in regard to the good things that you have done to your spouse, to your special person in your life, to your wife, or whatever? What have you done specially that we have heard celebration on? What's wondering or what's on your mind? We don't hear those things. So the tendency needs to be changed. Something needs to change. So what can I say? Maybe if I say some of the things that I have done or share with you, maybe you can say, well, yes, my good friend involved in my life has done some of these things. So most of us as men, do you remember when we were in the puppy love phase? And right when I say puppy love, I start going to the right side. Because they say most time it's not the dog have problem, it's the people. Right, my brethren? It's the people, not the dog. Do you remember puppy love phase? How we have put so much emphasis in terms of the relationship. How we remember the little details. Do we, Gary, remember the details? Right? Do we have the birthdays? Do we have the Valentines? Do we have the children, whatsoever special occasion? Do we have these things? And sometimes we are working so hard for the same people, we lose or we don't do some of the things that they think are more important than we as males don't consider so important. We want to make sure that we have provided enough resources. We have done this, we have done that, but at the end of the day we say it is the little things that are important. So in order for us to build the legacy, what will we do? And you said the legacy starts before the child even comes on the earth. Do you agree? Let me share with you what I thought. My grandfather had 11 children. 11 children. How many did I say? 11 children. Now, could you imagine back in the day trying to be able to provide 11 children, that family, plus others because others come to visit? All right? So guess what's in my mind? I thought when I was getting married, guess how many children I was going to make? 12. You're right. And somebody has to say the right thing because he knows, because you know I would have an extra. Because if you have 11 for cricket, then you have to have one more for the 12. And if you want the 12 yourself too? All right. See, one my first. So I was thinking, oh sure, I'm going to get married and I'm going to get 11, 12, maybe even more. Because as far as I'm concerned, easy job. We take care of business, just making them every 2 years or whatsoever, we'll make them. Because my grandmother did that. I found out that my grandmother made babies every second year for a stretch. And so I thought, hi, if Granny could do that, easy business. But guess what? That legacy, which I got involved in terms of that brain, was different because when we start talking in the puppy love phase and we start saying what we're going to do and going forward, did my wife get excited and say, yes, yes, darling, I'm going to make 12. Would she do that? No. No. So by the time this giant came out in number, that he said, what? That one is enough. Then came one more and he got 2. He said, oh, no, I can't take it. But now we had 2 boys, or that time, they're 2 men now. And she then said, we don't have a girl, so we need a girl. So we have 2, we have to go to 3 because we need a girl. How do we get that legacy forward with the grandparents having 11 or 12, and then now you come in at 3rd and think that don't look like the legacy that we as male going forward. That's something we're dropping short, right, my friend? We're dropping short. So now, here it is that we got the girls. So we got to 3, and we got to 3 just at the beginning of the volcanic crisis. Make it even worse. Right in the beginning of the volcanic crisis, we got the girls. So we got 3. So that legacy and that continuity, the whole thing changed. But guess what? When we started doing our budgeting, and gentlemen, please note that it's not just the government that has to be putting a budget together. Right, Gary? That's right. We don't just need the budget for government. It's not daddy alone that have the responsibility. We also have a responsibility in terms of our budget. How are we going to provide? And I'm watching the ladies because I know the question asked. How do we provide within that legacy to be able to provide our young people, our children, What is the kind of legacy we are thinking of now when we have those same children? Because if they're going to school, what would we do? We have to provide what? Help me, some of the ladies. What do we do? You have to provide clothes. You have to provide all kind of things. And there's food. And there's... All right, so let's put the basics. In truth and in fact, when we're looking after that children, in terms of the legacy, clothing, food, shelter is important. Is that important for us men? You have to have shelter, you have to have food, and you have to have clothing. The basic necessities, I'm giving you that. And so therefore, when we're looking towards that strategy, when we're looking forward in terms of that legacy, it means that that legacy will be established based on what we are putting in place. How is our budget going? Our budget going good? No, so if you have 11 or 12 children, how many bedrooms do you need?
12.
And if you have girls and boys, and the social services say you cannot have all the boys and girls together in one place anymore. Remember, in the old days, 11 of us was in one room on the floor. Right? You have bunk beds, okay, somebody said bunk beds. But guess what? Your whole strategy and your legacy says your budget has to take care of your shelter, your food, and your clothing. Now, can we say things are rough, go to school naked? Can we do that? No. So it means then that the strategy in regards to how we are talking now in 2021 is that the budget is important for us, not only as males, but as the couple. What do you say? You agree? All right. And the greatest or the more expensive investment is what? Most of them. Well, somebody say food, but you have to be careful. Education can become very expensive in terms of what you see on the ground. Of course, shelter, depending on what you build. All right? So that legacy for the people going forward, am I going to put a large, strong building that hopefully, when I pass on and go on to the next generation, something will be of benefit to the children coming behind? Or do we just put something and then say later on, what happens, happens? So the legacy and the preparation actually starts for what you're doing in the future. And so, if you're not comfortable, if you cannot afford it, what happens to your children as a legacy? What happens? If you say, let us just make some kids, and how many of them we can make, that's all right. Make 11, 12. What happens if you do not have the worth? You do not have any revenue. The same as the government. What happens? Fabulous? What happens to poor you?
Poverty falls in.
All right. Trouble. Trouble. And so, what I'm pushing forward, and I hope you're getting the message here, is that our planning and strategy has to be improved in regard to how we're moving forward with our legacy as our children. We have to. Because it means that once you're dropping short, these nice little ones who are happy right there, so they can't be bothered with hustler whether you do nothing. They're happy now. They got a little piece of paper and they make a little instrument and they're making fun. The difference is that the young children who are coming behind, they do not have some of the responsibility, but we as the men and the women, because now is not just the men working and the women not working. There's never been really and truly that type of thing that's happening. But the language tends to have been saying that one works and the other don't work. But they have always been working. But now as men, to strengthen our families, to strengthen our responsibilities, we have to change things and we have to strategize. Right, Hus? We have to strategize. So the bottom line is, somebody says to me that, so Mr. Skerritt, what should I do? What should I do? And the question is that the specialist now said to me that if you are having children and you're having a family, there are certain fundamental things that should happen. How much insurance do you think that you should have if you have 2 or 3 children in your family? How much insurance, life insurance, do you think that you should have for once you have a number of children? Not just even one. What do you say they said that have happened to you? What should we do, Gary? And they have said that at least 4 times of your income. What did I just say? 4 times of your income, annual income, should be in a life insurance once your young family is going. Once your young family going, if they reach 18, 21, you have to start to shift certain things in case you can't do it. But once you have them young and your spouse or your wife is there, it has been said that we should have what? 4 times your annual income to make sure you strengthen your legacy. The other thing they have said is that you should, when you have young families, as males, we should also have health insurance. If you do not have enough money someplace on an account and plenty money, when anything happens to your children, your legacy, what happens? What do you do? Come and look for family and say, please help me. And the family need help too. I have a good friend right on my left side keeping me going. What happens there? The children get sick. What do? You also need health insurance. Here, somebody help me up there. And you have to have a job. You have to. Somebody talk about income tax over yonder here. Government will take out that income tax. But the bottom line is that we need better money management to strengthen our legacy. Now you said to yourself, but what happens when they fire my job and tell you, sorry, wrong number, you have to go home? The system now has to be designed in such a way that there are services that can help those persons who cannot help themselves. Now, there's not all of us, and there's not hopefully too many of them, but there are persons who get into circumstances in which you have to shift. So to get that legacy going forward as children, we have to do that. Your investment, of course, has to be a house, and that's a major investment. It is impossible for you to not build somewhere, live somewhere. Sometimes we're fortunate, we can get some help from other family members. But it says to you, that is part of the strength of the legacy when you establish a home, a shelter. It is said as well too that you have to be nurturing and teaching management and love. Now the ladies probably like the love part. The men know it, but we don't like to talk it. They say, ask the men, tell me, you love me? Yeah, man. Tell me that I love you. Have we been teaching our young people to talk about love? Can we strengthen that legacy if we learn to talk about love and our children can understand with love without mixing up love and sex?
Yes.
Because the world has confused love and sex. 2 different things altogether. So to strengthen our legacy, we as the men have to stop delaying in terms of saying when we love somebody, we love mommy. And you must say loud enough that the children hear you that you love mommy and that you express that love to mommy. Yes. Right? Don't make it look like because we are men and macho, we shouldn't talk about no love business. We need to be establishing the love with our young people and with our children. The other thing is that we must appreciate each other's achievement, and we must also understand that people will fail. Children will fail and children will have achievements. But we need to celebrate the achievements and we need to work on the failures so that they don't think that you don't try. You must try even though. So if we want your strategy and your legacy for your children to be strengthened, we now have to do more. Because sometimes we say we do it. Mr. Skerritt, we do it already. But sometimes we need to do a little more. A little extra. Sometimes we also need to be showing that there's a certain care and a certain tolerance and a certain faith and a certain change in conversation. The world has taught us as men what to talk and how to talk and where to talk and how bad we are and we're bigger and better. There's always a need for a way to understand because war is in the world too. People will come and try to conquer your place or your country, whatever the case is. There's need for preparation for, but there's also a need for an understanding for us to be gentle at times, to be kind at times, and to let your children understand that sometimes when they fail us, so sometimes we go too hard, we are too tough, because as males we are told we are the ones that we do the business, we fix them. But sometimes the same mom who tell you to fix them, when you start fixing the mom, say you've gone too far. You have gone too far. So the important thing is that it is not just because we are the person with the stick, but we also need to understand the need for our legacy to grow and our legacy to be strategic, that we can speak differently. We can speak love and kindness and respect into that legacy. Now, if you gave millions of dollars to your children and you haven't taught them how to understand, how to appreciate, how to love, how to understand the value, guess what's going to happen with all the millions you left for them?
Vanish.
When that legacy goes to your children, what happens to them? Have you seen examples? I have seen examples in my lifetime when I have seen where a gentleman who is a merchant in Montserrat was working for years, and when he got old and sick, a new member came in, a nephew or somebody or a son or whatever, and in a twinkle of an eye, the business went under. Guess what? He never understood the legacy properly, never understood the value, never understood the strategies that are necessary. And so, as men, we have strategies, we have things that we do for business, at work and different places. But sometimes when we're at home, we change our strategy. So I am pushing you in that direction, that in truth and in fact, that legacy for our children, those young people that you're seeing in a matter of couple years, they're now carrying on to our next generation. You move from your children to your grandchildren. And if that legacy in terms of respect, honesty, fairness, hard work, strength, joy, give me some over here, love, peace. If you don't get those aspects within that legacy, guess what's going to happen to you when you're off the way or you're on your way to Zion? What happens to you when you're heading for Zion? Everything that you have worked is discarded down. I'm getting the right help. The congregation. Down the drain. There's a necessity now for us to readjust ourselves and to say that in order for us, our strategies, our legacy, could you imagine Mango Villa down there and things nice? And you gone elsewhere and somebody come and said, tie some donkey inside there. And you say to yourself, Ma, if you could turn back, you say, what did I just see inside the place? Donkeys are in the swimming pool. Things which you said to yourself, but that's not what we planned. That's not what we planned. But if you didn't tell the other person in terms of appreciation and value, and instill. And so therefore, in terms of that children as the legacy, right now you're working on it. You work on it before you even made them. You work on it while they're still in the stomach. Men, all of you been there present talking to them before they came out? We've been told we're supposed to talk to them before they come out. While they're still in the tummy, men should be there. You should be putting the Vaseline, etc., to make sure that the stomach kept stay in the right way. No business. Right? You're talking to them, you're feeding to them, you're doing whatsoever. You're part and parcel of that process. When the baby comes out, do you say, I can't take that noise and I can't take the diaper? Can you be saying that as males? No. No. We are part and parcel of the process. And so, if you've been staying with me where I'm going this, I could carry it in a different direction. But I'm suggesting that strategically, in order for us to ensure that children are our legacy and the kind of legacy that we want passing on, is not just the other type of legacy, land, housing, money, gold, all kind of thing, that's one thing. But in terms of really strengthening them to be able to move forward and to grow and to appreciate what you have and to build on what you have established. Because if they build on it, we know they're going in the right direction. But if they're tearing it down and throw it away, if they don't love their family, if they don't love people, if they don't love country, anytime you have that, you realize that our strategy for the legacy of our children goes down the drain. All right? Now we could challenge this and we could take some other thing, but there's only time, and there's only so much time we can take it. So, I'm going to just summarize here to say that if you have not put some of these things in place, if you do not have that insurance, start asking the question. If you have, whether it's life or health insurance, if you're not establishing at least 10% of something being put aside on the bank account somewhere, right? Tithes and offerings for the church as well. That is good for you. Not just eating everything and drinking everything. Having the concept of love and feeling for each other. Concern. If you follow all the things which I've been going through, is to say to you that we can and we will continue. I like the word continue rather than to say that we're not starting nothing. No, we're not starting. I didn't say everything's starting. We are continuing to improve that the strategy for our people and our children would be in good hands with a better legacy. Do we accept? All right, so let me stop there because we could do it later on. All right? So we'll come another, the other folks said we could do it another day. All right? So, just saying to you, please, let's go forward to strengthen what we have done and making things better. And let's do it in such a way that we look around with the pride. And the pride of your children, your grandchildren, your family, your friends. Let us take that pride going forward to see that our legacy is in good hands for Montserrat and for the world. Thank you very much.
Good. Lovely. Thank you so much, Mr. Eugene Skerritt, for such an enlightening speech. And I'm sure that the fathers were encouraged today. And from your speech, I'm just going to reiterate the sharing of love, appreciating your children, taking time out, because some of the fathers, they were interested in coming. But you know what they say? They have to work. So I try to encourage them to tell them an hour and a half out of your schedule is not going to kill you to spend. Relax. It's like R&R, you know? with your children. Do more. Go the extra mile. Care, be tolerant, gentleness, kindness, and especially don't be too hard, because I know sometimes with the mothers, we have it very hard with the men, with how they treat the babies sometimes, you know what I mean? But don't be too hard with them, because you need to preserve your legacy, and as Mr. Skerritt said, in order for it to grow and continue. And if you're not on the right track, change your strategy. Thank you, Mr. Skerritt. Right at this time, I'm going to make two presentations, because the first father that came this morning, we wanted to capture the moment, but because of technical difficulties, we could not. So at this time, we're going to ask Mr. Sylvester Greenaway to come forward, because he was the first father into the library this morning. So give him a hand and let him come and collect. Mr. Greenaway, I hope you enjoy.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay? Right. And now, we're going to present the token to the youngest father. Mr. Cole, Andrew Cole, could you come forward with one of your children, please? Mr. Andrew Cole is the youngest father in the crew today. Okay. Could you bring one of your babies, please? Bring one of your babies. It's all about fathers and their children, so let the children present to the dad. So Anjali, I'm going to want you to give this to your dad. Could you turn around, and because you're going to be on camera, darling. So you stand here. And I want you to present that to your dad and give him a big hug. Okay? Give it to daddy. You hear the expression? Oh, that's what I love to hear. Lovely. Good. All right. So now we're going to call on Mr. John Smith to give you some brief remarks at this time.
Good morning, everyone. The title of my talk today is Reading as a Source of Entertainment. It's only a short talk, so at the end, please feel free to ask any questions. We live in a world today where there's never been any more choice of watchable media. In addition to cable, there's Amazon TV, Apple TV, Netflix, YouTube, and no doubt plenty more that I haven't even heard of. So faced with all these choices, why should you choose to be entertained by picking up a book? Unless we live alone or are lucky to have multiple rooms with multiple TV sets, watching TV tends to be a shared experience. If you have children, they will have their watching hours, and until they go to bed, you'll be restricted as to what you can watch. When picking a program, often the choice may be a compromise where no one is truly happy. Perhaps you spent the last 6 hours watching the cricket. You've got to the last 5 minutes, the golden over, and your partner decides it's her turn, and she grabs the remote, and maybe at that point you wish you had a good book available. A book, in contrast, is an individual, personal form of entertainment. You choose what to read. You set your own pace. You choose how long to read for. If the telephone rings or you have a visitor, you can put the book down and restart again later without missing anything. So what makes a good book? Fortunately, that is a personal opinion, in the same way as we would have different preferences as to what we would watch on television. I can only give you my thoughts. First, I would say a book has to be readable. So what is readable? Well, I would avoid books with single sentences that cover half a page, where you find yourself going back to constantly reread to be sure you've understood what's gone. And whilst I'm not against books that use words I've not seen before, I hope to be able to work out what they mean within the context in which they're used and not to have to look at them up in a dictionary. Next, the plot has to be believable. I'm not against a Rambo-type book where the hero kills someone on every page, but there has to be a reason for somebody being killed on every page. If it's a modern detective book, we know how detectives are supposed to behave when faced with a crime scene, and we don't expect our fictional detective to behave any differently. A book has to be well researched. It may be set in places the reader has been or could go. The characters may describe activities the reader knows about. It is important the facts are accurate. Following on from research, the icing on the cake for me is when the writer takes me to a place which I know little or nothing about. If a book is set in 1930s America, I expect references to the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, Prohibition, Italian gangsters and the like. It could be a perfectly good book, but I know about these things, so I'm not likely to learn anything new. However, if that same book is set in 1930s Hungary, then I know nothing about what Hungary was like in the 1930s, so this is a new experience for me, and the plot is enhanced by the location. A second example I can give you. Earlier this year, I read a biography of Jim Allen. As a cricket fan, I was inevitably interested in the subject and her learning about his life. But the bulk of the action was set in the 1970s and 80s before I came to Montserrat. So the extra layers in that book, for me, was that it was enjoyable to read about Montserrat before I came. It was also enjoyable to read about Montserrat remembering back to the early 90s when I did come, which of course is no longer with us. And of course, many of the people in that book were featured, the people that I came to know when I arrived. So this particular book ticked boxes for me in multiple ways beyond just the subject of the book. So, if I've not been a regular reader for a long time, how should you think about going about choosing a book? One place to start is to consider movies you've enjoyed. Often the screenplay for a movie originated as a book. And in my experience, the book is almost always better than the movie, not least because the movie has to fit into 2 hours or less, which inevitably means large parts of the book are missed out. Another alternative is to consider the types of programme you watch on TV, and then ask the library staff for recommendations. If you don't like the choice you've made, don't be put off, try something else. A library is free, there's no cost to read just a few pages and then give up. But it's worth making the effort. And if you find a book you enjoy, you have found that new entertainment experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody, any questions? No? Thank you very much.
And thank you, Mr. Smith, for that. And the book that he was referring to, I think that's The Stranded Batsman. And that's yes, it's available here at the library. You know, as he said, it covers not only the life of Mr. Jim Allen, but it speaks of Montserrat in a sense as well. So it's a good read, and we have it here at the library. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Now we're going to do another presentation, and it's for the oldest father. Who think they're the oldest father here today? Mr. Dyer, it is you indeed. Give him a hand, Mr. Dyer. Could your son come with you, please? Where's your son? Where's your son?
There you go.
I had forgotten to mention that the gift for the youngest father was sponsored by Johnny Mecca Fashions. Could you give him a round of applause, please? Jeremy, I wanted to present this to your dad and give him a big hug and wish him happy Father's Day. That's for Daddy, for being the oldest father today. So turn around.
Give me a hug, man. Not because.
And that gift was given to us by Mr. Beresford Chalmers of BBC. Okay? Thank you. I'm going to invite Dr. Gary Morton to the podium. We're going to present the gift that he has given to us. He is the main sponsor of this event. Could you give him a hand, please? And we are going to present his gift at this time, which is a 3-night stay at Chez Mangoville. And how we're going to do it. We put together your row and your seat number. So he's going to put his hand in the bag. Okay? And the one he picks will be our winner today. Mr. Martin, carefully, they start to fire stones and so
This is special friend.
Okay?
Okay.
So, drum roll, please. Mr. Martin, could you tell me what you have in your hand there?
I have the very lucky row 3, seat 3. I would think that that would be you. Come on up.
Mrs. Skerritt, you have
All right.
Mrs. Skerritt, no. Venice is presenting to Jensen.
Whoever you want.
Here you go.
Whoever you want.
Y'all have to keep the trend, don't spoil it.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
And there you go. And I hope the two of you all enjoy it.
I will make sure.
I will let Mr. Martin give you a
Well, congratulations. Congratulations. I just want to say a couple of words, because Dad is a very special thing to me. I have a phenomenal dad in my life. Many of you know him, Dan Morton. He's a school bus driver, so he's been a dad to pretty much everybody on the island. He's a taxi driver, and he loves people. He has instilled legacy in me, right? And my one goal in life is to just build on that legacy and make my dad proud. And, to that effect, I've just got to say thank you for the loves of my life that has helped me to be the dad I am, has given me the gift of being a dad. First, my wife, Sinan Morton, if you can stand up. And of course, another and most phenomenal love of my life, my mother. And of course, my kids, Jemai and Zara, you guys are the love of my life. Mrs. Skerritt said, you've got to tell your family, tell your young ones, tell your wife how much you love them, and I love you all. I love you. And so, I just want to leave you and add on a couple of words of wisdom that can help me throughout my tenure, if you will, as a dad. And hopefully it might help you to be even a better dad than you are. Because I see a lot of great dads in here. Hustler, I see Iceman, Terrence Jemmett, who's been with me. I've lived next to him in Richmond Hill since I was 2 years old. And we're still best friends, and he's a great role model and dad. And so I just want to commend all the dads in here. And there's a couple of words of wisdom that I would add. And I'm going to keep it really brief. It's 4 B's. 4 B's, right? Just remember, because as one of the trainings that I've learned is that you might not remember everything people say, but you remember 3 or 4 things. So I'm going to keep it to 4. All right? The first, and this is a tenet of, it kind of goes with what's been said tonight, is building your brain, right? And this is what this institution that we're in helps to do, right? It helps us because just like we are what we eat, we are what we read. So it's important to read, and I'm not talking about just reading on WhatsApp or Facebook. Okay? I see a hand up in the air. Yes, not just Facebook, not just WhatsApp. Okay? What you want to do is really choose what you read. And to that effect, I would recommend a book to you that I think will be a game changer in your life. It's been a game changer in my life. And this book is called Power Negotiating by Roger Dawson. Make sure you read it. It tells you how to negotiate, because as a dad, with your kids, with your wife, everybody, you need to negotiate, right? Yes. So it's one of those books that you should absolutely make a first read, an important read in your life, right? It will be a game changer. The other thing that I would say is, to build your brain, that first B, is travel. And it doesn't necessarily mean having to go to Nicaragua or Thailand or Cambodia or what have you. It could mean just going to the volcano observatory. It could mean just taking a trip down to Oz Bay. It could mean just going on a hike to learn about the trails around you. It's building your brain. And those times that you spend building your brain, especially with your kids, it's going to create legacy. It's going to create legacy. The second B that I would say is building your board. Just like any business who have a board of directors, people who give guidance and help shape it. You too, as a dad, need to have a board. You need to have good dads surrounding you. You are the average of the 5 closest people. So the 5 closest dads that are around you, you are going to be like them. That's why I'm very close to my dad. That's why I have good friends like Terrence, who's a great dad, who is very close. Because I'm the average of those dads that are around me. And the more that they're better, the more that I'm going to be better. So always build your board. The third B is your brand. Okay? How do you carry yourself? How do you show yourself as a dad to your wife? To your kids? It's very important that they see that you are a great dad, and not just working hard, but being there for them. Providing time. Time is the one asset in life that we cannot buy. And so that is the most important thing that you can do with anyone that you love. Give them time. That's the best gift in life, because we can't get it back and we cannot buy it. So that third B was brand. How do you carry yourself? How do you show up as a dad? And the fourth B is balance. Balance. Okay? Mr. Skerritt talked about this morning about how do you fortify that legacy in terms of financing or budgeting or having life insurance and so forth. The one thing that I would add to that is a couple of things in terms of balance. The first is that you need to prioritize. You need to know how to prioritize. And you have to prioritize family. And you also have to prioritize faith. Because without faith, you cannot be the greatest dad that you can be. The other thing that I would tell you, and it goes along with this time concept, is when you're trying to provide for your family, you want to think in a residual mindset, not a linear mindset. Okay? And let me just explain that a little bit. Linear means that you're trading your time for money. Okay? Meaning, if I go into work for a restaurant and every hour I'm there, I get $10 an hour, I'm trading my time for money. That is not, honestly, the best way to provide for a family. What you want to think about is how can you do that from a residual standpoint? Do I build once and then that provides forever? Mr. Skerritt talked about putting a great building, because once you put that building down, it could rent forever. You could be sleeping and you will still be making money. now you can take that time and spend more of it with your children rather than trading it to try to make money. And remember, time is something you cannot get back. Okay? So, I heard Iceman asked earlier, like, what can he do? And so the one thing that I would tell you, another way that you could make money from a residual standpoint, Iceman, you have one of the best stories here in Montserrat, and you should write a book about it. And that book will drive revenue for you, because I know all the Montserratians out in the diaspora will buy your book. So sometimes you've got to think, you have to have a paradigm shift in your mindset. I know you think, oh, well, from a systematic standpoint, they should support you. Absolutely. But sometimes, too, you have to think about, what can I do differently? What are the residual things that I can do that could create income and sustainability for your family different from what you have known? Because I know you're an expert driver in big machinery. But there's other things that you can do that will drive residual income. So I would implore you to think about those things as you move forward. And literally, you can you can dictate what your story is and have somebody write it for you. And I tell you, that could make money for you for the rest of your life and your children's lives and your children's children. So just think in that mindset. And the other thing that I would say is positivity. You have to eschew positivity. No matter, every morning when I get up, my wife knows that I look at YouTube videos that talks about positivity. Right? Because you have to have a growth mindset, a positive mindset. And when you instill that into your kids, you will create a legacy of where they can fish for themselves. And they will never be hungry, even if you don't have $1, because they will know how to create $1 for themselves. And that's what you want to instill. So, who remember my 4 B's? Build your brain, build your board, your brand, and your balance. And that is just the small nuggets of wisdom that I would share with you. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Morton, for your words of encouragement. And that is what today is all about, encouraging you fathers along the way. At this time, I'll recall Dr. Sinclair Coward to give you a few brief words as well. We are winding up slowly. Right after Dr. Coward, we will give your fathers your tokens. Mr. Coward.
Thank you. Hello. Good morning, all. Good morning. And thank you, Fiona, for inviting me to say a few words today. Thank you. I suspect I was invited because of a donation I made here of a few hundred books recently. I'm only sorry that I didn't know about the library here before I came to Montserrat, because just before I came, I donated over 1,000 books to charity, which I would have preferred to give to you. But there we are. Me, myself, I cultivated a love of reading from childhood, and it stayed with me for all these years. I've also studied for about 15 years for academic study. And that is, I have had to, across a number of degrees, and so you can guess that I've had to read 1 or 2 books for that. So I'm a huge fan of the library, any library. You know, you put me in a library, you lock it and leave me in there, and I'm good. Just leave me there all day. And I like to think that some of that love of books have rubbed off on my children. I've got 2 adults. Talk about children, they're adults now. One is a teacher, and he's a self-published author himself, and the other is a student who's doing international relations and sociology at our Sussex University. So I like to think growing up in a house full of books and where somebody in there always reading rubbed off on them a little bit, and so that influenced them in their future. But first, let me bid all the fathers here happy Father's Day. It's a huge responsibility, fatherhood, not to be taken lightly, of course. Enjoy the day. To my mind, fathers must do 2 essential things. Let me bring down my presentation to 2 things. Two essential things. Number one, you must instill self-confidence in your children. Self-confidence. Now, how do you do that? You must lavish praise and encouragement on them at every opportunity. Every opportunity you get. In fact, to my mind, you must soak them in praise. Like you pour a bucket of water over them, that water is your praise. So you must drench them in encouragement and praise. Anything they do, you must set them tasks that they are good at. So when they succeed, you praise them. You praise them for their appearance. You praise them for their achievements. You praise them for their efforts. You keep on praising them no matter what. You must also stop any self-deprecating comments. Say, how you know how children are, I'm useless at this, I can't do that. Stop that. You say, no, not in this house. Say, you're on your way to doing this, you haven't got there yet, but keep at it and you do it. So no self-deprecating comments to children. So they come to think positively about what they can and what they can't do. So turn all the negatives into positive. And then what happens is that they come, if you do that regularly and often, children come to internalize those messages. They'll take that away for them for life. They take away that I can do everything, I can do anything I want, anything I set my mind to. When they leave Montserrat, they leave here, they go out and explore the world. If anybody judges them for any aspect of who they are or what they are, it won't touch them as much because they've got that armor. They've got that armor of self-belief and confidence that came from you. So that's one thing I think fathers must give their child. The second thing, which links to where we are, is instill a love of reading. A love of reading in their children. So how do you do that? First of all, it starts with you. It starts with the parents. Let them see you reading. Let them see you cultivate a love of reading. In fact, let your child pass you when you're reading, and so they ask, Dad, Mum, what are you reading? And you would turn around and say, well, come, sit here. And then at that time, they probably regret asking. But it's too late then. So you say, come, I'm reading about Toussaint Louverture. Have you heard of him? I'm reading about Nelson Mandela. I'm reading about Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, etc. Have you heard of him? Well, yes, my teacher mentioned him. What did she mention? Get a conversation. It's your opportunity to take forward those kind of conversations with your children. Second thing you must do, you must read to them. That sounds obvious, but I don't know how many people read to their children, especially the younger ones. Books with pictures, big books with exciting prose that captures their imagination, and sit them down and read to them as a habit. Encourage them to read so that as soon as they finish one book, they pick up another. So when you pass your child, you can ask the question, what are you reading? What are you reading? And if they say, I'm reading nothing at the moment, you say, now come with me. We'll soon fix that. When they finish reading one, pick up another. Never let them be not doing anything in terms of reading. And as was mentioned, the written word comes in many forms. So it doesn't have to be a book. It can be a magazine, even a comic. And it can be electronic. There's millions of books out there at the touch of a finger, at the end of an iPad on your phone. That's out there for free. And so there's no excuse, no excuse. Reading is the one habit you must try to get them into. And just like Dr. Moulton just said, I'm going to come to some of the books that inspired me. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but there's a few authors that have touched me. Let me mention Alexandre Dumas. Let me mention Ben Okri. I will put Charles Dickens in there. Ralph Ellison, Marlon James. I'm not sure how many of these people you know, but I'd be impressed, and I'd like to see in your library at home these kind of books. The books such as The Famished Road, The Book of Night Women by Marlon James, who's a Jamaican. The Famished Road is by Ben Okri, who's Nigerian. Ralph Ellison, as you know, is an American. All of these books would seize and capture your child and take them out of themselves. put them in a plantation in America, put them in 19th century, 17th century, sorry, revolutionary France. It put them on the Middle Passage from Africa and away from Africa to US or to the Caribbean. It would really stimulate their imagination and their curiosity, So some of these books are life-affirming, and I would really encourage you to get them and get them for your child. I was going to go, and especially, let me pause for a minute on Alexandre Dumas, because he has a story behind him. He wrote the Count of Monte Cristo and the Three Musketeers, but his father was just as famous as him for being the first black general during slavery time to lead a European army, so alongside General Napoleon Bonaparte. So he was an exceptional black man who was the son of a slave who rose to great heights in the Western world. So there's a big story behind there. So what I'm saying, the point is that reading not only stimulates the imagination and the curiosity, but it's educational and it's historical. And these things will stay with your children for life. It also expands their dictionary, so they have a lot more words to use as they move forward in life through their education, through their schooling, etc. So we can't overemphasize or overplay the power of book or the power of words. That's my point. So people, please enjoy Father's Day and the responsibility it brings. Remember my two essentials: instill confidence in your children and instill a love of reading as a habit. So, the habit as much as brushing their teeth. But unlike brushing your teeth, reading will grow them spiritually, it will grow their character, it will grow them their historical knowledge and education, and it will leave them as a much rounded person and a much better human being for it. So those are the few words I have, and thank you, as I said, Fiona, for inviting me to share that with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Coward. And the two words, confidence and love, keep sticking out today. Confidence and love. So now we get into the presentation time, and to assist me with this, Mr. Herdsman and Ms. Smith. Mr. Herdsman is part of our team here at the library. Many of you who would visit the library, he would be the first person you see when you get into the library. And we are going to present the bags, the gift bags, to all the fathers. So I want you to do it in an orderly fashion, not the front rows yet. We're starting from the second row with Mr. Hustler right here, and then we go to the third row. Okay? The front row and Mr. Howard, your different segment. So we start from Hustler, you come forward and collect your token. Give them a hand as they come and collect their. Come around. Thank you for being a part. Okay? And that's him and his two little babies. Such a lovely thing to see fathers and their children together. Okay. Then we have Mr. Eugene Skerritt. He's on his feet. Just come and collect your basket. Mr. Weeks. Mr. Weeks, could you come forward, please? This way. Just hold on, let me see. Okay. Oh. Okay. Mr. Weeks is here with his son. Mr. Beaton.
Turn towards the camera.
Mr. Alfred Ryan, you're next. Mr. Beaton is here with his daughter.
You got it?
No, you turn a little bit. Okay, there you go, darling.
Mr. Alfred Ryan. No, she's okay. Don't worry. Mr. Alfred Ryan. He's here with his daughter. And one thing I know about his daughter is that she's a champion speller. So you know she's a book girl. Yes, Zion. Okay, next in line is Mr. Ryan Husfast. Ryan, you're next.
He's coming.
Mr. Irish, you can come in the meantime. We don't want to delay the process. Could you make them feel appreciated? I know that we have some lovely treats, so you'll get energized in a bit. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just his children are here. Mr. Patrick Jubri, who would have loved to be here, he registered, but you know, he's a main man in society, so you got to give and take. So someone will collect. His children are here, Jada and Alana. Yes. We have Mr. Eustace Dyer. Could you come? Oh, yeah, Mr. Dyer. Well, you know, and he has his young son with him. So Jeremy, we'll go that way, Jeremy. Jeremy, we keep him active. Go, Mr. Dyer, go forward. And come
This way, yeah.
Mr. Wade, Mr. Jeremy Wade, could you come forward, please?
Turn around to the camera. There's the camera over there. Thanks. Hold this, Jeremy. Hold this.
That's his son, Jeremy. Jeremy visits the library as well.
Yes, he does.
Mr. Wade is here with his lovely daughter, Cassidy.
Ah, Mr. Wade, my friend.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Wade. Actually, it's the mother who registered him, so some women have that power.
Ready? Come on.
Yes. Mr. Joseph Chambers, could you come forward, please? And then we have Mr. Oris Sullivan.
Come across it.
Just follow the pattern when you... Ah, and he's here with his children. You know, lovely, lovely.
Okay, come, guys, come. Get the phone with Daddy. Hold the bag. Okay. Keone, look at the camera. Yeah.
Mr. Sullivan is here with his children as well.
Yeah.
Lovely. Where is the young man? He's playing. Mr. Charlie Joseph, next in line. He's here with his son.
Sullivan comes with her. You
And Mr. Patterson, you're here with your sons. Could you come forward, please?
okay. Come, Charlie. Come this way. I want you to stand. Dance on racks.
Mr. Hunt, could you come forward, please? Mr. Hunt is here with his grandchildren. Okay.
Is that Mr. Fontaine?
Is there any father that's hiding in the... I have everybody covered now.
You're looking up there?
Who is it? Oh, Ben. Front row, front row. I forget you. Mr. Sylvester Greenaway, could you come forward? You fix my problem. Come and collect your token. I had to get Mr. Greenaway to do some. You see, the males are always working to fix a problem just now. Mr. Greenaway? He's a handyman for the library as well. You know, he's been doing some work here. So, Mr. Greenaway, we thank you.
Wait for the camera, wait for the camera.
He get us first.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Hunt? Okay. Good, and I think I've got all the fathers covered. Now we're going to turn to... What's her name? I mentioned in my opening remarks that we have a mother who registered. Alicia, could you come forward with your girls, please? She's here. Could you give her as a father? She's the orange here. We got your gift, specially packaged. You know what I mean? Because what's wrong with these? You have to go to the front here. What happened to them? They're misbehaving. Yes, yes. You know, she came to me and she said her daughter, because we sent out some flyers and her daughter brought it home to her and said, "Mommy, you have to come because you're our mother and our father." And that was, so she's here today.
So we're presenting this to you as a token of our appreciation for all your hard work as a mother and a father. Congratulations.
Mr. Terence Jemmett, could you come and collect your token? Mr. Jemmett did a flyer for us for the occasion. You know what I mean? He stepped up to the plate. Terence and I, we were in class together as well. You know what I mean? So, no, the book, the book, the regular. Terence, thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right.
Turn towards the camera now.
And he's here with his children.
Yes.
Okay, so now, thank you. I'm retiring, Mr. Hersman and Ms. Smith. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I'm going to call Miss Sarah Sweeney to come and assist me. We're going to present to the two presenters, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, could you come forward? Mr. Smith, we want to thank you for taking up the opportunity to come. Mrs. Smith is a regular patron to the library, and I was very grateful.
Mr. Smith, on behalf of the library, and we are under the umbrella of the Ministry of Education, I'd like to thank you for your presentation that you gave today to the fathers, and we really appreciate it. I see they were attentive, so I know they got something out of your presentation.
Dr. Coward, you're next.
Come a bit closer, tell us you have to use the mic, please. I'm sorry. Dr. Coward, I would like to thank you for your presentation that you gave to us, to the fathers. And it's not only for the fathers, but it's for all of us. And I think that you have done justice, and we appreciate you for what you have done.
Thank you.
So therefore, I'm presenting this token to you to show how much we appreciate what you have done for us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
And to the man of the hour. Mrs. Skerritt, I want to thank you so much. Mrs. Skerritt was actually my 4-H. He mentioned 4-H in his speech, and he was my 4-H captain, leader, and everything. So he knew me from a little girl, and he has always believed in me, and I felt that he would have been the appropriate person to come and present to us today. Thank you so much, Mr. Skerritt. Yeah.
It gives me great pleasure to hear you here today, talking to the fathers. I have worked with you, I don't know if you remember, 2 occasions. When I first came into the working with the statutory body, you were the PS at Communication and Work, and I started working at Montserrat Aviation Service, and you applaud me for my work that I've done there. And secondly, I've worked with you at Ministry of Agriculture, and you also applaud me. And it was a pleasure working with you. And this morning when I heard you, it gives me joy, peace, and everything to know you're talking to the fathers. I know that what you are saying is true, because my children had a father, but he got
He's deceased.
He's deceased some years ago, leaving me with 2 children, 8 and 4. So I was the father and the mother. And what you have said this morning have given me encouragement, and I know I have done justice, because exactly what you said is what I have done. And they are out there. I tell my God the other morning that I have left a legacy. God, I think you can take me now, because if you take me, I will feel comfortable going, knowing I leave my legacy. And I know they're going to leave, that legacy is going to go on, because that's my prayer every day. I open my eyes and see another day. So without any further ado, I'd like to present this presentation to you for your words of encouragement to the fathers today.
Thank you very much for the words.
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to present this one to Mr. Morton. You know, Gary and I go way back, not only Terrence, all 3 of us, we were in class together. Mr. Morton, I just want to thank you. Anything I ask Gary to do, he just step up, and there are many other things that have come in where the library is concerned. And I just want to thank you for stepping up and doing what you did today. And I'm presenting this little token to you on behalf of the library.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the Montserrat love.
First, I would like to thank Miss Mead for moderating this morning's event. I would like to emphasize that she's not only a good moderator, but she's a great coordinator. On behalf of the library, which is a branch of the Ministry of Education, I would like to thank Ms. Mead for her valuable and creative input into the library's promotion activities. I would like to reiterate that this morning's proceeding is just one of the activity, as there are many others to come. On behalf of the library, I would like to thank Ms. Smith, the librarian, for invoking God's presence on this morning's event, promoting the library and introducing the guest speaker, Mr. Eugene Skerritt. For with God all things are possible, and it was evident in the exhibits portrayed here today. Thanks is also extended to Mr. Eugene Skerritt for accepting the offer to be the guest speaker for today's proceedings. Observing the father's attentiveness demonstrates that he has done an incredible job. Thanks to Mr. John Smith, one of our most incredible patrons, who visit our library and utilizes the library resources for his words of encouragement to the fathers. Thanks to Dr. Sinclair Coward, your words of encouragement is a source of blessing, not only to the father, but to the entire audience. Thanks to the Ministry of Education, of which the library is a branch. The staff of the library would like to assure the ministry that we will be constantly knocking at their door, introducing unique ideas that will enhance the library's long-term goals and objectives. Thanks to Angeli Cole for presenting the token to the youngest father, which is her special dad. Thanks is also extended to Jeremy Dyer. Thank you is also extended to Miss Sharicia Mead for the beautiful decoration exhibited here today also. Mr. Terence Gemot, thank you for designing the flyer that is being viewed on the backdrop. Thanks to Mr. Willman Greenaway for reading materials that is being displayed on the table at the side there. To you, our invited guests, we would like to thank you for coming out and supporting the library initiative at today's ceremony. Without your presence, it would not have been successful. Thanks also to the fathers and the mother who plays the role of a father. I can attest to that, as you have heard me say it before when I was giving Mr. Skerritt the gift. And the children who are present at our first outreach activity and ceremony. It sends a signal to us that they are appreciative for today's proceeding.